'cause I'm my own worst enemy. Only if I let it be. I can control anything if I can just think carefully. I control my destiny. Deep up in my mind I'm in.
Hey everybody. Alright, we're back to updating the Cafe Fighter build assembly video. If you watched, I did the basic wiring series, and so now the wiring harness has been installed on the bike. It still has a couple little tidy items that I need to do, as far as terminating the fuel level sensor, and I need to re-add the actual clip on here. I had a small snafu. I've since added oil in the engine. I have temporarily hooked up a fuel line, and I have started and ran the bike. The first time it's been ran since it was when I first got it. I never even rode the bike. I just started it, heard it run, brought it home, tore it apart. So anyways, that's all done. Like I said, the wiring's done. Everything's ready to go. The speedo's running correct. All right, I wanted to point out when it came to the wiring, I didn't notice it until, after the wiring's done, and there's no way to notice until you try to start the bike. The Haynes manual is incorrect for the wiring section for the TCI. Whenever I first tried to start it, I had no ignition. I had no fire. I had the 12 volts to my coil, which was totally strange, but I had no fire. I pulled spark plug, checked the spark plug leads, and there wasn't, when you turn it over, there was no spark. So in the manual, it shows your two coil negatives in the two center posts on the connection diagram for this ignition module. So I luckily had kept what you could call a wire harness that came out of the bike, and I was able to see that this connector where the actual plugs were at, because I generally just follow the wiring diagram and my own personal diagram that I draft up for a bike, but this was off, so I had to cut the tape back. So I got to put more tested tape back on it, and I had to push the pins and then put them back in the slots that was on there, and as soon as I did that, boom, the bike fired right off, first hit. So sometimes you need to reference an old wire harness if you still have it, so don't throw nothing away ever, because you never know. Anyways, it's all good there. I still have to change the regulator and the alternator, get that done. At this point, I need to start doing some body work to get the start doing some paint work. Oh, and also I went to try to do the clutch. I had rebuilt this original slave cylinder, and the piston in it looked pretty bad. It's made out of cast iron, so it was really a rough surface. It had a lot of oxidation on it and stuff, and when I reassembled it after I cleaned it all up, running it through the ultrasonic cleaner, it works, but when you go full out and then you let go of it, so basically when you're trying to purge the air bleed the air out of the system, whenever it gets to where it gets a lot of pressure on it, and when you release it, it pulls air back in through the piston. I literally could hear it, so I can never get the air bled out of it. So I got to order a new one. I found them online or on eBay. There's a company in North Carolina because they use these engines in race cars, and he's got a brand new clutch assembly. I'm going to order one and get it on the bike so I can finish testing the clutch system. Other than that, she is done at this point. We're going to move to some body work and get her ready so I can get this thing tuned up and go riding. So keep following and we'll touch base again. See you. I had one other thing I wanted to touch base on. I forgot to mention it. I mentioned it in the basic wiring series that I did. But the FJs didn't come with a oil pressure switch. They come with a float level switch. Same thing with my XV920R. It's got the same exact float switch in it. So you have no idea what your oil pressure is at all times. And I feel uneasy about that. So what I did is I took one of the oil caps. I had bought an aftermarket one, which is not cast aluminum, and I drilled it, the hex that you use to take the plug out, I drilled it out and tapped it the 1/8 inch MPT to put this oil pressure switch in, and I basically created a Y into the float level sensor wire, so the float level and the oil pressure share the same signal wire to come up to the dash and illuminate the actual oil indicator. I looked in the manual. It says, I think it was 8 or 10 ps. I think it was 8 psi was the low level pressure for the thing. So I just did a 8 psi oil pressure switch on eBay. This Generac oil pressure switch came up, so I bought that, put it in there, and when I fire the engine, the oil pressure works just fine. The indicator goes out instantly, and it takes, I don't know, a couple seconds after you kill the engine before the light will come back on. So it's telling me everything's holding great. So when you put this in, the cap doesn't need to be very tight anyways. It was kind of a booger. I had to do it on my lathe, chuck it up in the lathe, and then thread this in so I could get it tight prior to putting the plug into the bike. And so when I want to put the plug in, I actually use the actual oil pressure switch to install the plug. And then if I had to take it apart, you'd have to chuck it up into something in order to get the pressure switch out. It's on the bottom, it's inconspicuous, but I feel much better having an actual oil pressure indicator on the dash that reads pressure, not level. So other than that, that was the touch base for that. I also wanted to point out I'm getting a different set of actual handlebars. These are too low. I do have some wiggle room in the cables, in the brake lines, but my throttle cables come too close when I put the actual headlight fairing on. They want to rub, so I want to get some risers on here. So I got a whole new set of Woodcraft handlebars, quick clip-ons to put on here, and I'll save these for a different build somewhere else. But anyways, I got those coming, and I got my horn in today. This is a Hella, excuse me. I'm hoping it's pretty good. The last one I used wasn't a cheap one. I used it on the XV, and the thing sounds like it's got a cough or a cold. It sounds terrible, and I'm hoping that'll be much better. So anyways, that's an update, and we'll come back some more later. See ya.